In this video, I'm going to share about year 2 of Mavenclad. In fact, okay, I've done both, just so you know. We're going to talk about when I started, year 1. Then I'm going to talk about year 2. I'm going to share with you my conversation with the MS nurse around fatigue and how she expected year 2 might go, as well as the side effects that I had in year 2 versus year 1. So that's what I want to share with you today. I'm Jen DeTracy. I'm the founder of Women Thriving with MS. We help women to go from that place of surviving with MS to striving to thriving with MS. You can check out the links below. Let's get into talking about Mavenclad year 2 and my entire Mavenclad experience. So what I want to share with you now is that I am currently on week 15, 10-5, week 15 of Mavenclad year 2. Now let's just talk for a moment about my conversation with the MS nurse, and later I'm going to share with you about my lymphocytes results in year 1 and year 2. So stick around for that at the end, because there's some really impactful information that I learned, and I want you to have this information yourself. So after year 1, I met this woman who's an MS nurse, and we had a conversation, and she actually came and talked to me and my group, my membership that I had with Women Thriving with MS, about life and aging with MS. And I asked her the question about fatigue because in year 1, which happened in 2019, which is 4 years ago now, I had very bad fatigue. And I asked her, when I do year 2, which there's a big gap because I've done year 2 in 2023, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. I said, I'm really worried about doing year 2 because I had such bad fatigue in year 1. Like it was like moving through molasses. And she said to me, Jen, it's possible that you won't have the same impact of side effects that you had in year 1. That's what she had found with the patients she had worked with. And so I was hopeful, but a little cynical. So I'll tell you what happened in a few minutes about that. Now, why was there a gap from year 1, 2019 to 2023, which is really, 3 years in terms of starting the next treatment? Well, it was partly because of the pandemic and because I had plans to travel. And also, when I went on this journey with Mavenclad, I didn't know if I would get access to year 2 treatment with that big gap in place. Now, fortunately, it was a blessing that I was able to receive that treatment, and I'm so grateful for that. That made a big difference for me, and I just feel blessed to be able to have gone through this experience all the way through. Now, with the side effects that I had in year 1, it was, as I mentioned, I had huge fatigue. Like it was so extreme. I don't think I'd ever experienced that before. Even when I was diagnosed with MS and I was flat out and I was really struggling and didn't know if I'd ever be able to work again, it was really hard. But this was kind of like a concentrated period of time where it just felt like everything was moving in slow motion, and my brain was moving in slow motion, and it was tough. And there was an emotional roller coaster in that, and I was really, bitchy. I was a crappy person. I was miserable. So of course I was nervous about doing year 2, and especially with that gap, I just didn't know what the outcome would be. But as it turns out with year 2, my MS nurse was right. She was totally bang on. And I'm at week 15 now. And yes, I have fatigue. And yes, I had a few weeks that were pretty tough. I really felt lethargic and unmotivated. And it was difficult to do day-to-day stuff, particularly as a person who works part-time. It was difficult for me. And I'm still fatigued from the treatment, but I live with fatigue anyway. So it's just, the first year was like, oh my gosh, it was like fatigue times 10 was so intense. And I would say this time round, it's a fatigue maybe times 4. It's so a big difference. And I don't know what your experience is. I'm just sharing my experience. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a woman that's been living with MS for over 12 years now. And this is my journey. I've also had some emotional ups and downs, but not to the extent that I had last time. So that's a huge relief. Now, what I can say is it's interesting because back, let's see now, it would have been maybe 3 weeks ago, I was celebrating my anniversary with my sweetie. And what happened was that they got COVID. And they tested positive after we had parted ways because I was staying behind at my mom's place, and they were moving on to go back home, and they tested there, and it was positive. So I was really worried because I'm like, oh my God, my immune system's down, and what's going to happen to me? And there was some panic there, and I tested every day, and it didn't come out that way. I did feel at times, and still this happens a little bit, but during that particular week, that my head felt like it was in a huge vice grip, like being crushed, and my sinuses, which I have some challenges with, were really bad. So I thought maybe I do have COVID, and I talked to my neurologist, and he said to me, well, it could be COVID, it could not be, but just like if you need support, let us know. And I just wrote it through for about a week, and I started to feel better. So I really don't believe that it was COVID. I think it was just some of the side effects of the medication being active in my system and causing this disturbance. So that's how it worked out. Now, one of the things I want to share with you is where I'm at now at week 15 again, is that again, my fatigue is not that much different than it normally is, maybe a notch or 2 higher. So instead of it being at the regular 5 out of 10 kind of thing, I'm probably maybe sometimes at a 6 out of 10. So it's not extreme, and that depends on the time of day. If you live with fatigue, you know what I'm talking about here. So let's talk about the lymphocytes, because this is very, very interesting. I'm just going to pull this up for you. So in year 1, I started off before the treatment at 2.6. And if you know with the lymphocytes, the range is 1 to 4. So I was above average in a healthy blood count for the white blood cells, the TMB cells, for my lymphocytes. And after the treatment, about week 8 or 9, I did the blood work and I dropped to 0.7, which was a good range. So I was really slammed. Can you imagine going from this place, 2.6 to 0.7? What an extreme difference that is. And then what happened was I had a conversation with the pharmacist, because when I did my blood work before starting Mavenclad year 2 this year, 2023, I was told that my numbers were 1.6. So I thought that was horrible. I thought, oh my goodness, it's been 3 years, and I was at 2.6 at the peak, and then I dropped to 0.8, and it only went up to 1.6. My body's not doing its job. And the pharmacist educated me and said, Jen, listen, you want your lymphocytes to be low, your blood count to be low, because you have an autoimmune disease. MS is an autoimmune disease. It attacks the brain. And the lower your immune system is with your white blood count, the less likely your brain is going to be attacking, or the MS is going to be attacking your brain as actively. So that was like, really? Oh my goodness, that was an eye-opening experience for me. I'm like, because I'm so goal-oriented, I'm like, I got to get back up to that 2.6, but no, that's not true. And so, as you can see here from year 2, I went from 1.6 down to 0.8 in my lymphocyte count, my TMB cells, white blood cells. And I was kind of disappointed because I was told by a friend of mine that the ideal number is to go down to 0.4. When I talked to my neurologist, he felt that was a fair place to go and that would have some impact. And now, Now that I'm at 0.8, it's possible, who knows, maybe 3 years from now, I won't be up past 1.2, like who knows, right? But I probably won't get back up to the 1.6, which means that as long as I get to the 1 out of 4, which is the healthy range, that it's better to be at the low end of the lymphocyte count, still within the healthy range, than it is to be at the high end when you live with MS. So if you are looking at your blood work and you notice this, hopefully that gives you some reassurance that the medication is working, that you're on the right track, and you're doing what you need to do. So that's it for today. I'm Jen Tracy, founder of Women Thriving with MS. I'm so grateful that you watched this video. Be sure to like it and comment and share it, and check out the links below because there's some goodness for you below the description of this video. And yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you again. Bye now.